to the governor of New York, to the director of the FBI, and have ordered that the full resources of the federal government go to help the victims and their families, and to conduct a full-scale investigation to hunt down and to find those folks who committed this act. Terrorism against our nation will not stand. And now, if you join me in a moment of silence. May God bless the victims, their families, and America. Thank you very much.
You have just heard President Bush acknowledging that this was an apparent terrorist attack today on the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in Lower Manhattan. He has ordered a full-scale investigation and offered, of course, his prayers for whatever victims there might have been of this tragedy. And again, we have no information about who has been hurt, who was killed, if anyone. We know nothing other than the fact that there has been this apparent attack involving 2 aircraft. Can we go back to the telephone and Richard Thompson now? Are you still there, sir?
Yes.
Again, you are a licensed pilot. You were describing to us that you saw what appeared to be a small business jet that was flying, that came screaming by your office window and went right into the tower.
Exactly. Is that being a pilot is the first thing I recognized, that there was no way that a business jet could be flying at that level at this time of day over the city without special permission. So that I tried to crane my head out the window, but within 5 seconds before I could open my window and look out, it already had flown directly into the building. I mean, a pilot, I know that you could have avoided that at 99%. If you were in trouble flying that plane, you could have avoided that building. And so whomever was at the controls directly flew that thing right into the side of that building.
Could you, again, did you see the second aircraft? Apparently it might have come in from the other direction.
No, I couldn't see it. I was looking at the building when it hit, and I saw my colleague Tim Lufkin and I saw it hit the building, but we did not see it fly into the building. We saw the explosion from it.
And again, I guess we're still trying to figure out, there are some reports that these planes were hijacked. The FBI is said to be investigating that. But the one that you saw appeared to be a small business jet.
Yes. And the second plane was obviously a larger plane because the explosion from the second plane was tenfold larger than the first plane.
Okay. Mr. Thompson, we appreciate very much the information you've given us this morning.
And may God be with all those people, because this is going to be a tough day for all of New York.
Yes, it is, and we thank you.
We now have reports that the New York Stock Exchange is being evacuated in the wake of the disaster at the World Trade Center. They had planned to open as normal, so right now everything at the Stock Exchange is on hold. And right now, let's go down to Joe Avalar, who's on the street downtown. Joe?
All right, we're down here in Soho, as a matter of fact. You're looking at a picture from Prince and Worcester Street, and on the ground you can see what has happened all over Manhattan. People are stopped and they're staring. They're looking up and they're trying to figure out all of what's happening. In talking to some of these people, I met someone, Philip Russo, who actually witnessed the whole thing. You were driving east on Bleecker Street, that's correct?
That's correct. I was driving east on Bleecker Street.
How do you step around this way? We'll put it all in the background.
I heard what sounded like a jet flying very low. I looked up, I saw a blue and white jet, 2 engines, going obviously in the wrong direction.
You were thinking jet, you were thinking 737, something like that,
Something
a
like that,
jet.
a large jet, a large commercial jet, but with no markings that I could identify other than blue stripes on a white plane. It sounded too low. I looked up, it looked too low, going in the wrong direction, and I followed it into the building.
Flew straight into the building?
Straight into the building, dead on, disgusting sight.
Then you continued to look up at the building and you saw the second jet.
Well, then we were looking for about 5 minutes, just in horror at what happened. Saw a second jet coming from the west that looked identical, both in color and in form, and it smashed right into the second building. Huge explosion on this side facing us.
Now we're all standing out, we're staring at the building, all of us, in horror.
Yeah, it's the only way to describe it. Horror, sadness, disgust.
You talked about fear and being scared.
What next?
And feelings of vulnerability.
2 huge planes crash into, the World Trade Center. What's going to happen next?
Mr. Russo, thank you very much for talking with us. As we look back up at the World Trade Center, and I know you can see it better with helicopters, but you can see it from the ground here as well. The picture that we're looking at, that most of Lower Manhattan is looking at, flames inside the World Trade Center and the huge hole, and we can all see how the flames have spread to upper parts of the building, how it's billowing out of the building, and how the other building is occluded. And everybody from this vantage point is, as Mr. Russo is saying, looking at it in horror, looking at it in fear, worried about yourself, I imagine. Where were you, sir?
Right underneath it. Right underneath the Trade Center when it hit. Second one, both of them hit. We ran like hell all the way up here.
Did you happen to look up?
Yeah, we seen the second one run right into where we're unloading the truck. We got right out of there. Scariest thing I've ever seen in my life.
The planes never veered, did they? The jets just went right into it.
The second one, we heard the first one and seen everything flying out of the building. And the second one, we actually seen run right into the building. It came right from behind the building and ran right into the other side of the first tower, the further one down.
It's a terrible question, but what are you thinking about when you're looking at something like that?
I'm telling you, we ran because stuff was flying everywhere. It's the scariest thing in my life.
And that's...
Never seen anything like it. Never seen anything like it, man.
And your name, sir?
Sean O'Neill. Still tell my wife I'm all right.
As it is a way for people to let them know everybody's okay as they stand and watch this in horror. You just walking through the area, sir?
No, I was with him.
You were with him?
And we heard the explosion. And I'll never forget that explosion, I'll tell you that. We were just under some scaffolding and debris started falling all over the place.
Now, people here talked about the second explosion and didn't think it was that loud, didn't feel that it was...
We were there. It was loud, I'm going to tell you that. We were right there for both of them, and it was loud.
Windows coming down off the building.
We just had like rocks and stuff, just every type of debris you could think of just falling all over the place.
Now, you were there when this happened.
Yes, we were right there.
Why did you stop up here in Soho and then turn around and look at it?
You just have to see what
First time we
happens.
turned around and looked.
You really, no, we were just running from there. I mean, to be
First to
honest
run
with you.
for safety, basically.
Yeah.
Get out of there.
And I don't know why. There's a whole bunch of people driving now for someone down there, just blocking the fire trucks and everything. We were trying to clear the streets and let fire trucks go through. And
It's a madhouse down
It's
there.
madhouse.
That's really a good point to New Yorkers who may be watching us, however they're watching or listening to us right now, is to try to get out of that area to let the emergency crews do what they need to do. Because there are clearly people still trapped up there, and firefighters and emergency crews still need to do a lot of work. And you can see as we're standing here that fire is spreading to different parts of the building, different floors, as it continues to engulf the building. Just a horrible, horrible sight from here in Soho. It is sad.
Saddest thing I've ever seen, man. Phew.
Sad. It's nothing like I've ever seen. Nothing like anybody here in New York has ever seen either. That's the scene here from Prince and Worcester Street, and we'll talk to some other people as time goes on.
Joe, you are not close enough to... Okay, apparently Joe cannot hear us, so thank you, Joe. We appreciate that. Obviously, we are, again, trying to ferret out all the information we can about exactly what happened in Lower Manhattan this morning. The president has said it was a terrorist attack. There were 2 airplanes involved. Dozens of eyewitnesses have told us that. One of them appeared to be bigger than the other. The second bigger than the other.
And we all witnessed it right here on live television. Caught us all completely off guard. A normal work day here in Manhattan has come to a standstill. We've been told that the subway lines 1, 2, 3, and 9 have been shut down. All the Hudson River crossings have been shut down. The New York Stock Exchange has closed down for the day. And right now, a lot of people are just stunned in shock. Again, 2 airplanes, 2 separate incidents, minutes apart, crashing into both towers of the World Trade Center. And you certainly see the result as far as the structural damage. I mean, it is major, and as you said, President Bush said that this is an apparent terrorist attack. We expect to hear from Mayor Giuliani in just a couple of minutes. Governor Pataki is in town. As a matter of fact, he does have an office in the World Trade Center, but President Bush says that he has talked to the governor.
Right.
So as far as we know, the governor is okay. And like I said, we should hear from Mayor Giuliani in the next couple of minutes.
But again, to reiterate, we know nothing about what happened to the people who work on in those floors, in those buildings. So we are simply waiting to find out about injuries and casualties, if indeed that's what happened. So you were looking at a scene that one would wish you could never witness in a city like this.
Of course, this is the second major attack on the World Trade Center. There was the bombing back in 1993. And of course, that was at the bottom. And the top of the building, obviously very vulnerable, and we certainly witnessed that today.
Right, with all the security changes that they made on the bottom, so nobody can get up there without the right kind of clearance. But it's vulnerable to attack by air.
Absolutely. You can't stop it up there.
We are going to once again go to Katie McGee because, as we've been telling you, the city is literally at a standstill. No one's being allowed in from any of the river crossings.